Now for Postgres, it's also doing similar things. It's also tuning the OS parameters, slightly different. It's installing some helper packages. Some are the same, some are different, but they're all related to Postgres instead of MySQL. It's now going to reload Postgres, and we're done. Postgres, very fast installation. Let's go to the cluster. The cluster, yet again, looks similar. It has the same tabs. Some of the tabs here are different because it's Postgres. Everything is oriented around Postgres. Nodes tab is here. Query monitor, all the same functionality. Performance, we have a little bit less of the things here because it's all around Postgres and not around Galera. We can schedule backups, make reports out of that, manage everything. We are able to configure, manage the same configurations here. So it all has the same look and feel as with MySQL. Let's add a replication slave to this newly created master. Wait, yes, that's the correct host name. And I want to install Postgres and proceed. Let's go to cluster jobs because we have a cluster now. And it's running. It's logging in. It's tuning yet again the OS. And it already installed Postgres packages. It's now granting this server to the other Postgres machine, granting the slave, and now it's creating the data directory and the configuration in there, and it's finished. So within 2 minutes, I have a Postgres cluster with master-slave replication. So this Postgres replication set is up and running in no time. Still trying to reach the slave at the moment, but it will be there in a couple of minutes. Another nice thing to see here is that we can either add a node to this cluster or a replication slave, so we can replicate the data over there. Last in the demonstration, we want to show how easy it is to create a MongoDB replica set. And it's similar to Postgres and to MySQL. Everything looks similar. We have a dialog that we need to fill in, but some details are different. Yep. We need the SSH user, and we're good to go. Deploy. And we can keep track of the job, where it's doing similar things as with MySQL and Postgres. It's tuning a bit, it's installing helper packages. You can later on see that for MongoDB it does some different tuning options. There we go, installing some packages. We detect the free disk space, and then we have enough disk space, so small files equals false. It's a setting within Mongo. And it should almost be completed by now. It is taking some time right now. I think we're almost there. Jean-Jérôme, how are we doing time-wise?
I think we're still good. Nick, just a reminder that people can ask us questions, of course, at any
yes.
point.
Yes, that's a good one.
And we'll answer them, of course, towards the end of the webinar.
Yeah.
But I think we have about 5 minutes still that we can use, for the demo.
Still another 5 minutes. That's good.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, let's not wait on this. Maybe I can show in the meanwhile some of the other functionalities in here. In here we have the cluster listing, so all the clusters are listed here. And you can see in the cluster listing the health of your cluster. So we can see that for Galera nodes we have 3 of them. We have a MaxScale node in this cluster and a controller node, which is ClusterControl. We can see that we have 1 alarm. We might need to check that out as well. For the second cluster, which is MySQL, we have a master and we have a replica server and the control, obviously. Similar to Postgres, we have the master and the slave. And I'm a bit curious, what are all the alerts? So let's just look at the alerts in Galera. That's the license expiration. And similarly, we can go to the other cluster, which also has exactly the same alert. And then the third one for Postgres should have exactly the same message, I would guess. Yes. So nothing important or noteworthy currently. And now all the alarms have been read and they are reset and everything looks perfectly fine for this cluster. Now we can get back to Mongo. Now it's still busy creating the Mongo cluster. That's always taking a bit of time. Some other things I can run you through is, for instance, the cluster jobs. I clicked through that quite quickly. It's nicely organized. We have global jobs where you can keep track of creation of new clusters or adding existing clusters. And then for every cluster, we have a separate list of jobs that we have run there. And you can keep track of the status. If one of the cluster jobs fails, you can resolve the issue and press on restart, and it will just restart your cluster job. The Mongo job is still running. That's a bit of a shame. Anything else I can show in the meanwhile? Probably nice to, hey, we have 2 alarms here. Oh, still the license expiration. Okay. What would be nice to show is maybe also the advisors. The advisors within the performance tab, we kind of give you an overview of all the hosts and what we think is going on there and if it's still healthy. In this case, everything is fine. We have no tables without primary key. We don't have MyISM tables in here, but if there were MyISM, then there would be some advice here. Connections versus max connections used. Also nice to get alerts on. And the nice part here is that you can create your own advisors. So you have the developer studio where you can write your own checks and scripts. And then within the alarms, you can set your own custom expression. And the custom expression can give you an alert on your own custom check that you have written. So that's a nice feature to keep in mind. Let's check Mongo. Right. So Mongo, we're a few steps further. It installed Mongo server. It's now starting the MongoDB server. So I think it should be there quite soon.